Stand at the base of it on West 57th Street and look straight up, and the building seems to have no end. 1,550 feet of glass and steel climbing into the Manhattan sky, the tallest home anywhere on Earth. 131 floors of apartments, each one sold or priced in the tens of millions of dollars, stacked higher than any residence ever built. Now come back at night and look again. Floor after floor after floor of it is dark. Not a few windows. Whole sections of the tallest home on the planet. Unlit, silent, empty. This is the strange truth about Central Park Tower. It is not a building that failed to sell its luxury. It is a building whose luxury was never really meant to be lived in at all. Central Park Tower did not begin as a place for ordinary living. It was conceived as a monument, a statement to the world about what was possible and who could afford it. The driving force behind the project was Extell Development, led by Gary Barnett, who saw the tower not as another condo, but as the crown jewel of an entire era in Manhattan real estate. To realize this vision, Barnett turned to Adrian Smith and Gordon Gill, architects whose names already echoed from the heights of the Burj Khalifa. Their task, to design a structure that would not only rise above the city, but redefine what it meant to own the sky. In September 2019, the tower topped out at 1,550 feet, becoming the second tallest structure in the United States after One World Trade Center. More than just a number, that height gave Central Park Tower the status of the tallest residential building in the world, a vertical neighborhood that few would ever call home. At its base sits a 7-story Nordstrom flagship, a retail anchor built into the very foundation of the project. But the building's most audacious feature comes 300 feet above the street, where the structure cantilevers eastward, pushing its north-facing apartments out over the city to capture uninterrupted views of Central Park. Every inch, every engineering risk was taken to maximize spectacle and exclusivity. The tower was never just about shelter. It was about creating a new kind of asset, one where the address itself became a form of currency and the view was as valuable as gold. From the moment the first listings appeared, Central Park Tower set its own rules for entry. The average apartment price hovered near $30 million, an amount that instantly narrowed the field to a handful of global buyers. The penthouse, a 3-story monument in the sky, was introduced at $250 million, aiming to shatter every American real estate record. Yet even as the brochures promised a new standard of luxury, the reality was more brittle. The pool of potential residents was not just small, it was vanishingly thin, a rarefied slice of wealth that could afford to treat a home as an afterthought. Early signs of friction appeared in the sales office. To keep the momentum alive, Extell began offering incentives, 3 years of free common charges for buyers willing to commit, sometimes even longer for the largest units. Behind closed doors, brokers whispered about deals that would cover half their commission, a quiet nudge to keep the listing circulating among the world's elite. Each concession, each sweetener was a signal that the market for this kind of address had to be coaxed into existence. The tower's promise of exclusivity had become a challenge of finding anyone exclusive enough to fill it. The surface gleamed, but beneath it the search for buyers was already growing tense. The numbers told a story that could not be hidden behind glass or gold. By 2023, 3 years after Central Park Tower's completion, 87 apartments remained unsold. That meant half the building's inventory still sat in silence, each empty residence a weight on the developer's balance sheet. What began as a triumph of ambition had become a financial anchor. The unsold units were no longer just an embarrassment. They were collateral. In early 2025, Extell raised $270 million by turning to bondholders on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. The loan was secured against 18 of the tower's unsold sponsor units, each one a promise to investors that someday someone would pay the price of admission. But the reality was plain. Inventory was sitting, not moving. The building itself had become a tool for converting stagnant luxury into cash, a process that underscored just how far the dream of effortless sales had faded. Central Park Tower was now more than a symbol. It was a liability that had to be managed, its empty rooms leveraged for survival. Night falls on Billionaires Row and the city's brightest towers turn strangely dim. The story isn't only about unsold inventory or a sluggish market. Even the apartments that have found buyers often remain untouched, their lights off, their rooms silent. In Central Park Tower and its neighbors, nearly half of all units sit dark at night, a pattern that repeats across the 7 tallest residential spires along the corridor. These are not empty by accident. The spaces are owned, meticulously maintained, and yet they rarely show signs of life. The hallways are quiet, the mailboxes empty, the doormen waiting for residents who seldom appear. In these towers, a home is less a place to live than a vault to store value. The apartments function as safety deposit boxes in the sky, their worth measured by the deed, not by the dinner parties or children's laughter inside. The value is in being owned, not in being lived in. The promise of a vertical neighborhood dissolves into a collection of private assets, each one sealed behind a locked door high above the restless city below. Inside Central Park Tower, ownership is less a matter of residency than of status. The buyers come from the farthest reaches of global wealth, industrial dynasties in Asia, old money from Europe, oil heirs from South America. Their names rarely appear on the deeds. Instead, shell companies registered in the British Virgin Islands, Luxembourg, or Delaware stand in for the true owners, shrouding the building's residents in layers of anonymity. A handful of recognizable billionaires lend the tower a veneer of celebrity, but their presence is fleeting, more often a rumor than a reality. Few residents spend more than a handful of nights here each year. Some never arrive at all. Downstairs, a full staff waits in the lobby every day. Doormen in tailored uniforms, concierges prepared for requests that almost never come. The mailboxes remain mostly empty. Deliveries are rare. The amenities, sky-high pools, private dining rooms, the exclusive club are immaculate but unused. Central Park Tower operates as a vertical neighborhood with no neighbors, a skyscraper designed to impress the absent. In this world of sealed doors and silent corridors, ownership is the only thing that matters. The lights stay off, but the building is doing precisely what its buyers intended, standing as a monument to wealth, visible to the city, inhabited by no one. Near the summit of Central Park Tower, the dream crystallized into a single, dazzling object. A triplex penthouse, 3 stories of glass and marble floating above every other home in America. At launch, its price tag was set at $250 million, a calculated attempt to break every record and claim the title of the most expensive residence ever sold in the United States. The campaign turned the penthouse into a spectacle, its empty halls and panoramic views splashed across a Netflix luxury real estate series, with broker Ryan Serhant leading the tour. The world watched, but no buyer came. By late 2023, the asking price fell to $195 million, a public retreat from the original fantasy. Soon after, the listing vanished from the market and the broker who had become its public face quietly stepped away. The penthouse, once the promise of the tower's ambition, now stood as its most visible disappointment, a crown with no king, a stage set for a performance that never began. Central Park Tower is only the most visible spire in a crowded skyline. Alongside it, 157 432 Park Avenue, 220 Central Park South, and 111 West 57th all rise within a few blocks, each promising unmatched prestige and park views. But these towers compete for the same narrow band of buyers, those who treat property less as a home and more as a trophy or a vault. The result is a corridor-wide glut where unsold and unlit apartments have become the norm, not the exception. The contrast is even sharper when set against One Manhattan Square, another Extell project downtown, where hundreds of units sold at a steady pace. Here, the emptiness is not a fluke. It is the outcome of a market that built too many luxury towers for too few residents, turning the city's skyline into a monument to surplus ambition. Inside Central Park Tower, the apartments are less homes than assets, vaults of stone and glass engineered to hold capital high above the city. Here, height and marble are not just luxuries but the wrapping on a financial product. Each deed is a certificate of prestige, a safe deposit box with a skyline view. The tower's value lies in its ownership, not in footsteps or laughter echoing down its halls. A financial product does not require a resident. It requires only a buyer. The emptiness, the darkness at night is not a flaw. It is the proof of purpose. The tower stands as intended, a vertical treasury, silent and secure above the restless city. Above the restless city, hundreds of empty apartments keep their silent vigil. Vaults, not homes. In a world where shelter becomes speculation, darkness fills the sky while thousands below search for light. This tower isn't failing, it's a mirror, and its reflection grows sharper every night.